You're not going to want to miss this episode of the AI Show where we're talking all about how to draw anything with Azure AI and Stable Diffusion with my friend Vlad. Make sure you tune in. Hello and welcome to this episode of the AI Show where we're talking all about how to draw anything with Azure AI and Stable Diffusion with my friend Vlad. Why don't you introduce yourself, my friend?
Hi, Seth. I'm Vlad Iliescu, an MVP from sunny Romania. By day, I like to say that I work on machine learning and data engineering at a beautiful software company here in Iași called Strongbyte. Happy to be here.
I'm excited to talk to MVPs because y'all have a wealth of knowledge, actual ground, feet on the ground kind of knowledge of doing stuff for customers. So before we get started, I thought we would talk a little bit about what Stable Diffusion is, and then maybe how you got it to run, and then you could show us. What do you think?
Sounds great. Well,
all right, let's start with Stable Diffusion.
That's what you took the words from my mouth.
Nice.
So I think one simple way of explaining what Stable Diffusion is comparing it to Dall-e 2. Surely you must know about Dall-e.
Yes, I've heard of Dall-e, yeah.
From OpenAI. Yeah, well, Stable Diffusion is like Dall-e, but different. Yeah, on the one hand, Dall-e is a generative AI model that can generate kind of whatever you ask of it, but that's exposed as a web API, so it's really easy to integrate as a developer, right? You don't need to install it anywhere. You just get an API key, pay for the privilege, and then integrate it in your applications. On the other hand, Stable Diffusion is an open source model. So that means that's a blessing and a curse, by the way. That means you can do anything you want with it. You can run it on your own hardware. Yeah, you get access to the weight. You can even retrain it and fine tune it on more specialized image sets. But then you have to run it, right?
Yeah.
You have to configure it, and it becomes more difficult.
So let's see if I'm understanding correctly. Stable Diffusion is a way to generate images from text. It's open source, but everyone knows that open source is like free, but free as in puppies. You can get a puppy, but then you got to take care of it, and sometimes it makes a mess. But if that's something you want to do, you could totally do that. Am I getting this right?
That's exactly the experience I had when having a puppy. It's spot on.
So what are the general challenges with running something like this on your own that you ran into, and then maybe you could show us this stuff?
Absolutely. Well, I'd say the first challenge was that I wasn't able to. I'm running an older Mac, so no M series, just Intel all the way. And even though I have a video card, it's an API card. So Stable Diffusion didn't run on this. But I really wanted to try this out, really wanted it. So I turned to Azure ML. I knew there were these compute instances that could also I could also get GPU access on them. Mm-hmm. So I started looking how I can configure Stable Diffusion to run there. And lo and behold, I managed to do it, and it's been quite fun. It cost me more time researching Stable Diffusion than I'd like. Once you start generating images, you want to generate the best images, and then you get into prompting, and then 1 week later you come out in your bathrobe screaming Eureka. But it's been quite a ride.
Well, here's the thing about technical stuff. I feel like there's always like one person that goes through the pain of figuring it out, and then they show us, and we're like, "Thank you. Now I don't have to come out of my bathrobe and have a Eureka moment. I could just do it." So, can you show us Stable Diffusion, and then show us maybe how you got it to work?
Absolutely.
All right, let's do it.
Right. So what you see here is one of the many interfaces on top of Stable Diffusion, right? An open source interface that you can use to generate, well, anything using the power of AI. So just to prove that I'm not just exaggerating, I wanted to ask you, Seth,
yes.
Can you give me a good image, a scenery for your perfect vacation?
Okay, so let's try rendering that. There's like mountain people that love mountains and beach people that love beaches, and I am a sunny beach guy. So let's try that.
Let's make a sunny with 2 N's, but also epic. Also, Epic Beach. Do you like waves? Who doesn't like waves?
Oh, I know. Is that even a question? Of course, I
Lots
like waves.
of waves, but not threatening waves. But just
No,
lots of waves.
friendly waves, of course.
Friendly, the friendliest waves.
Yes.
Right. So right now, how does this work? Yeah, the Stable Diffusion model is wow.
Like,
It has taken. There's no beach.
we didn't tell it friendly waves, so it decided to make scary waves.
More friendly, more increased friendliness.
Right.
Yeah. So how did this work? Basically, Stable Diffusion models work by generating a lot of random noise, and then gradually, through a series of steps, and I'm using 20 steps over here, refine that random noise towards an image that kind of represents what I asked for it.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of waves, emphasis on lots. And here, I think is that a puppy?
It looks
We'll
like a
never
stuffed
know.
animal, on a surfboard.
Okay, but and I'm just gonna update the image a bit. I'm gonna use the same seed so that we don't get a different image, right? If
Okay.
we use the same seed, it's the same image, whatever you ask of it. And I'm just gonna remove the surfboard. Yeah, who doesn't? No surf, just waves.
Oh, cool. So
Surfboard.
the top one is what you want, and the second one is what you want to take out.
Yes,
Okay.
with a B. And I'm fingers crossed. We have never tried this before, dear audience, and
Oh, nice.
and
There's
there's
people walking on
weird.
water.
It's the end of times. That's the perfect vacation for Seth. My gift to you.
This has got to be the perfect. I'm excited. I'm excited for this one because this means that we can both walk on water during our vacation. It's a magical moment for both of us.
Yes, yes. So happy we can share this.
Yeah, and so here's the question: is this whole thing? Did you build it from scratch, or how did you? Because this is your instance of this thing running, right?
Yes, I stole other people's work, borrowed other people.
Yes.
That's how we. But basically, this is an open source interface on top of Stable Diffusion, which is also open source. It's automatic 1.1.1 work. And I'm running this in Azure. Now, I'm going to use a neural network that I've been training for some time and predict the next question that you're going to ask. And that's going to be, but Vlad, if you're running this on Azure, why do you have a radio URL?
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. Because it's like this feels like a totally different service, and I'm glad you kind of brought that up. How did you set this up?
Yes, well, with the power of AI, but but basically, I'm using an Azure ML studio, right, where I've created the compute instance. It's this beefy guy called Biff, and here I'm using the integrated terminal, this integrated terminal, to run. Well, let me just stop it. To run Stable Diffusion. Now, it's totally not going to work if I refresh it because the service is not available. Yeah. So what happened over here? Azure ML compute instances are really cool for running notebook jobs. We all know that. Yeah. If you look at the documentation, everybody's mentioning running notebooks, and that's a pretty big use case. But what I wanted to try over here is see how they work for running applications. Yeah, not just notebooks, because yeah, you can totally run Stable Diffusion in a notebook. You can write a Python code, but I wasn't in the mood to do that. I just wanted a nice UI. Sometimes I just want to click buttons. It's so relaxing, right? So I wanted to see how you can configure these compute instances to run, and one of my favorite ways to do it is with the embedded terminal. So that's allowed me to, for example, to access this this interface, yeah, via Git. I did a Git clone. Let me see. Let me show you. So right now, I'm on branch master. I have some added files, but I am in the in the directory for this application. Yeah, I can manage the compute instances from the command line, and yeah, I can do anything. I full
It's like a
control.
computer in the cloud, right?
It's a That's what I was trying to say with too many
So,
words. Thank you,
and the
Seth.
reason why you're doing this is because you couldn't run this locally, right? Because this needs a GPU to run, or it won't work. Am I right?
Definitely, this needs a GPU to run. Plus, in some cases, so even if I were able to run this, it would still be rather slow. You've noticed I'm generating an image in about 3 to 4 seconds, so that's quite fast. Um, on maybe a higher end video card on my machine, I would do the same in about 11, maybe 12 seconds, depending on the resolution. So it would
Ooh.
be dramatically slower. Plus, if I were to train my own models built on top of this, I would need a significant amount of VRAM, right? So,
Right.
for example, an anime model, Waifu Diffusion, trained on fine-tuned on a series of anime characters. It took about 30 gigabytes of VRAM, so that's out of the realm of consumer video cards. It's not. I wouldn't want to pay that much on a GPU.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you clone this repo, the Stable Diffusion repo, and
Yes.
on the compute instance, and then does it how that UI was that just part of the repo, or how did that work?
Yes, that UI is actually part of the repo. They're using Gradio. Yeah, Gradio is a machine learning. It's an UI for building interfaces in Python, but it's very much used for machine learning. And they
Right.
have very cool sharing option, which when ran, it talks to the Gradio server and exposes the application over there. So
I
that's what I was doing. Actually, you can even see here in the logs, yeah, running on public URL over here. By the way, as a hint, if you were to set this up for yourself, do set a username and a password for the for the public URL, because sometimes they're guessable. And at one time, I didn't know why images were being generated that I never asked for, and then I discovered the magic of authentication.
Nice. Okay. So this is
Yes.
you're using a compute instance that's generally a notebook machine for Azure ML users to try something out for people to see. Now, beyond just like cloning and running, was there anything else you had to do, or how does this all work?
Absolutely, it was quite interesting because on the one hand, it needs a lot of packages, right? You don't just git clone and run. Due to the nature of these models, yeah, they do require, amongst other, PyTorch and the NVIDIA drivers and CUDA and all that stuff. And the authors of this UI tried to make things as easy as possible. It was really smooth once I managed to get other things to work for this particular Linux machine. But yeah, pretty much it's git clone, then set up a conda environment. I'm a big fan of conda environments, because then you get to specify not just your pip packages, but also the version of Python. You have them precompiled. It's I think it gives a much better separation between environment than just using the pipems. So
That's
I
cool.
created a conda environment. You can even see it here. It's A111 SD Web UI.
hmm
It's activated where I installed everything. So if I'm to I don't know, use another interface, maybe not automatic one, but to invoke AI, I can create a new conda environment and install the packages over there, so that we don't get clashes, because that's really important.
This is cool. And then what's the command? Is the command that to run the Gradio app? Just can you
Ah,
show us
yes,
that, and then we can. Oh,
yes.
let me move my faces. Okay, cool.
Yes, it's this beauty. So basically, what I'm doing over here is just activate the conda and then do an accelerate launch. Uh, The automatic fork, the automatic web UI has some more user-friendly options to run. They have some shell files, but I do prefer the control that I get from just running the raw command. And you can also see the username and passwords I've set. So now
Uh-oh.
you can go and generate everything.
Uh-oh. Now we can go look at it. Okay, so this is really cool. So just to summarize, you found this amazing stable diffusion model. You're like, I want to try it out. And you basically were able to run it on an Azure compute instance just as is, without very
Yes.
many modifications. I mean, just creating the con environment. Or was there anything, like, was there something that you had to go through for it to work?
Actually, no, that's a really, really good highlight. I was able to run this with no modifications. So just making sure we have all the needed packages in the right condition. And I'm mentioning PyTorch because I've had some issues with that, but in the end, yeah, managed to do it and document that as
That is
well.
amazing. So if people want to read
Yeah.
more about this and they want to see how, your journey, did you write this down anywhere?
Yes, it's on my blog. I think you have the link.
Yes, I was like tossing it up for you, be like, you should look at my
Thank
blog.
you.
I looked at it. It's great. I love your writing style. That's like, hey, I wanted to try this, and then this didn't work. So yeah, absolutely go to the blog. And then for those that want to know more about compute instances, we have a link here for you as well to learn about Azure ML compute instances, and then also stable diffusion. Any final words, Vlad, you have for folks watching?
Absolutely. They should try using compute instances for like whatever they can. I really enjoyed working with them. And do I have one last final minute to show
Yeah,
a really cool thing
yeah,
that
I do. If you have cool things, I want to see them. So let's see what you got.
awesome. I really like doing stuff in Visual Studio, to be honest.
Mhm.
So I got quite excited to find out that you can do development in Visual Studio on the remote machine. So right now, what you're seeing is me in VS Code connected to BIF, good old BIF, and accessing the files. These are some of my previous generations. I'm really proud of this one. But basically, right now we're looking at the file system for the Stable Diffusion web UI. We can, I don't know, edit the documents. I you can do git commits if you really
Hold on,
want.
hold on. Wait, this is Visual Studio Code, but running on the machine in the cloud?
Yeah, yes. It even has the extensions over there. So I get two sets of extensions. You see, I have the local ones, the ones I'm using on my local VS Code,
Uh
and the
huh.
ones on BIF, the ones installed over there. For example, I was able to install an image gallery just to look at this, especially for remote development. So it's really cool. I'm really
Wait,
excited
so
about this.
how does one do this? Like, how do you, because you're on the machine, but you're on your Mac right now, but you're on the machine in the cloud to do your stable diffusion. Like, how is this accomplished?
I hope you're not expecting a smart answer from me because I just you go in the compute list and click VS Code. So I was when I saw this, I was like, what?
You said one more thing. I didn't think it was gonna be that. So, in theory, you could effectively run everything as local on Visual Studio Code, connected directly to that compute instance, and see everything that's going on.
You even get the terminal. You even get the terminal. So it's beautiful. One thing to have in mind though is
Yes,
and that's really important is that if you're connecting with VS Code, then the cloud machine will not automatically shut down because it won't appear as being idle.
I see.
So if you kind of need to either exit the VS Code or shut it down manually, right? Because I'm not sure if I showed you, but I set this to shut down after 30 minutes of inactivity because nobody likes a big cloud invoice.
Not a big Azure. Well, this is, you said one thing, but this was actually a huge thing. Thanks for showing that.
Sorry,
Any final words for people that are watching?
I have one other thing.
Oh, you do. Show us the other thing. This is great.
So you might wonder, have you ever wondered how to download these images or the things you generate, or how you can where they're stored?
I'm
Because
assuming
I
they're stored on the
did.
compute instance, right?
Almost, no. So on the computer, you get some really ridiculously low amount of free space on the compute instance. It's just 128 gigabytes. You fill them up
Oh,
in 3 Conda instances, but they're in the storage associated with the ML Stable Diffusion workspace. And in the storage, you get, it's not in the containers like you might expect from AML. It's actually in the file shares. So you get a file share, and there you have the everything, all the files over there. So that what this means is that if you create a new compute instance over there in the same machine learning workspace, you will share this code. It will also be mounted in there. You will not share the Conda environments. You'll need to recreate them.
right.
But then two people can work on the same code.
So
Or
so what I'm understanding now is a compute instance is generated, but the backing file storage is in the cloud. And so in theory, you could replace your compute instances at will, modulo the Conda environment, and still everything is there.
yes, exactly. And if you need to change regions, right? Because these are per region. Let's say
Yeah.
you find that in East US it's cheaper to run GPUs than in West Europe where I'm at. You can just use Azure Storage Explorer to move these from one cloud to the other without having to download gigabytes and gigabytes of files.
Vlad, this
So
is
this is
delightful.
pretty cool. Yeah,
Do you have any more special things? Like did you bring cookies for everybody too?
I might. No, that's it. That's
That's awesome.
one
Well,
last final thing.
do you have any final words to summarize? If you say one more thing, I'm gonna be so excited about it. But any final things to add?
Well, just that I was really excited to be able to run. So two technologies I was really excited about. Yeah, on the one hand, Stable Diffusion. It's open source. I love open source, but as you said, sometimes it costs time.
Like puppies,
And
you gotta
I
clean up
was
after them.
sorry.
They're like puppies. You got to clean up after them.
Yes, exactly. I flashbacks
Yeah.
in my case. But I was really appreciative of the fact that with compute instances, I was able to run them reasonably fast without a lot of effort. So yeah,
Awesome. Well,
Stable
thank you
Diffusion
so
is
much.
awesome. Compute instances are awesome. You should go try them out.
All right, my friend. Thank you so much for being with us. And thank you so much for watching and learning all about how to draw anything with Azure AI and Stable Diffusion. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Take care.